Okay, cut. Now we start. Woo! I'm Darren Ho, I'm 42 this year, and I'm a professional pickleball athlete. I started playing tennis when I was 4. My mum coached me quite a bit. After that, we actually had got a private coach for me. I was always running around. I had so much energy, and it was very hard for people to kind of keep me under control. When the coach would tell us, hey, okay, it's time to pack up and time to do some stretching, I'd be like, hey, I want to play some more. And I'll keep going and then I'll crash after that. For my tennis career, I always remembered being very competitive. At one point in time, I was seeded 2nd or 3rd in Singapore for the different age groups. Then I went on to play the open tournaments, and as well as training with the national team, playing the regional tournaments, playing for Singapore at the Junior Masters. I think for me, it was really the fun of playing a sport, getting out there, and really giving it my all each time. That was what made it really fun for me. When I was in 2010, I remember I was close to 147 kilos. I was at a point in time where I really didn't think that I could do any wrong. And a lot of stuff was happening for me. I remember when I went to see the doctor told me, well, if you continue this lifestyle, you're not going to live past your 40th birthday. And I still didn't pay much attention to him. And then one day when an uncle that was very close to me passed away for the exact same reasons, it was a very big wake-up call. To see family members very, very helpless on his deathbed was really quite heartbreaking. That became a very important milestone for me. I remember it was in 2010 that I decided, okay, I need to stop all of this and I need to really pay attention to my lifestyle. Then came another milestone when I was 35, and I decided to see a psychiatrist for a couple of relapsing issues I started to notice about myself. To my own shock, I kind of knew I was a little bit ADHD. And then he also said that you are also autistic. And then of course, Tourette syndrome, when he noticed I was twitching like what I'm doing now. Then came my whole triathlon journey. And I was really interested in cycling at the time. And then I tuned in, I remember, to one of the channels and I saw everyone crash. And this part of me went, wow, that's really nasty. I mean, I don't want to be part of that. So someone challenged me and said, if you don't want to just cycle and you want to save space, why don't you do a triathlon? I decided that I'm going to try and I'm going to take this plunge. What was a very impulsive decision turned out to be one of the best years of my life. To that point in my life, even though I lost the weight, I was still coping with a lot of issues, having to deal with handling and dealing my own conditions, wondering whether or not there'd be a stigma against me if I came out and I spoke about it. Doing all of that within a year really, really showed me that if I put my mind to it, that a lot really can be achieved. Between 2016 and 2017 and 2019, I went on to complete 4 other Ironmans. I've completed at least 7 or 8 half Ironmans. I also represented Singapore in the ITU World Triathlon Finals. Tennis was always the first love. I think triathlon was something in between that needed to get me back in focus. But the reality is that we're all getting old. So by the time I was, turning 40, and I had to make some really, really important choices. And then I got introduced to the concept of pickleball. And I was like, hey, this game's a little bit like tennis, it's a smaller court, plastic balls. Maybe I should give this sport a try. And so in 2022, 2 weeks after I first started playing pickleball, I took part in a tournament in Singapore and ended up winning the intermediate singles title. Still didn't pay much attention to it. Played pickleball maybe once every week. And then someone said, hey, why don't we go to play an overseas tournament? I said, yeah, so we went to Phuket. And that was a terrible experience for me. I went there, didn't know what to expect. I was just mentally not in it, and everyone was just so good. I remember getting knocked out of the singles really early. I remember doubles, being so frustrated at myself, taking out my partner. And I had a chat with him, and he told me about, it took you 37 years to get to where you are for tennis. I don't know what you're trying to expect from a couple of months of playing on and off. Sat down and thought about it and I said, if you can swim 4 kilometers without knowing how to swim, and if you can bike 180 kilometers when you don't really know how to bike, And if you can run 42 km when you've never really been a runner before and do a freaking Ironman, then you shouldn't have these kind of doubts and this kind of mentality when you're adapting from tennis to pickleball. And I decided that, okay, you know what? I'm going to give this one shot. I think that was such a pivotal decision in my life. I felt a lot of things start to fall in place. In 2023, I was quite dedicated to the sport. I think I spent a lot more time playing pickleball than I did tennis, which eventually led me to decide that I no longer wanted to play tennis. So in August 2023, I hung up my tennis rackets and said, I'm done with this. So my first breakthrough moment came in the Singapore Open, and that was in April. I felt that when I was playing, I no longer had this weight on my shoulders. And when I played in the next National Open in Singapore, I clinched a couple of medals. I came in first in my singles age group, and a couple of other medals along the way, which to me was a really nice feeling. Went on to play the World Championships in Bali, won 2 singles titles, won a mixed doubles title, went to China, won the team event, went to Taiwan, came in third in the team event there, and then went to Bangkok. I clinched 5 medals. Because I was having so much fun, I started thinking, what would be the next step? And so I took that monumental step, and I booked my first pro level tournament in the US, which is where I'm heading to. And I thought that, it's one of those pro level events, maybe I'll just be lucky, I'll get by, until I saw the world number 1 take part, and then the world number 2 take part, and then the world number 3 take part. I was like, wow, this is getting real. This is the real deal, right? It just brings me immense joy to know that I can even be in the same arena with these guys. Even though I may or may not go very far, this is the right thing to do. And that I'm in a good place, and I'm going to see how far I can go with this. And if there's one thing I don't like to live a life of regret, I might not be the youngest, but I'm also not the oldest. And I like to believe that if we commit, we have to go all the way. If sometimes we don't take risks in ourselves, we can't really expect anything big to happen. Moving forward in 2024, I've been very blessed to be picked up by a new sponsor. It's been a very, very, very symbiotic relationship so far. Everyone's very understanding, and they've helped me quite a bit in going to the US to play. But I think my objective never changes. It's never changed, and what I said before was that pickleball still needs to be a source of joy for me. It's helped me to create a very good balance in the way I approach problems, the way I approach life. Second, is not really about winning or losing, medals, ranking points, but more of what it's doing for me as a person. I think those who have journeyed with me and they have seen me play pickleball and pick up the sport have also remarked that I've become a much more level-headed person. And for me, that's important. I think we all find our own way, but for me, that's a big objective. And I need to make sure that along the way doesn't change. The third objective for me then comes down to performances. Not about winning or losing medals or prize money or ranking points, but rather, am I going out there, am I giving my all? Am I being true to myself on court? One of the biggest lessons that I learned in tennis was that if you go out there and if you can't swing freely, and if you're burdened by the stress of always wanting to win, then we naturally don't go very far. But 2024 is definitely a year that I'm fully committing to this journey for myself.